Hello and welcome to a live Kerfefe break on Deprogram with Keri Smith. I'm very excited about my guest co-host today. His name is Buck Angel. I have interviewed him before about his story. He's also known as Trampa in some circles, and probably has a lot of hateful monikers that other people give him. Uh, please welcome Buck. Is that a good intro?
Oh man, I miss you. You're awesome.
People do have a lot of hateful monikers for you, probably.
Well, I mean, I think for all
All of
of
us.
us, it's not just me. But yeah, it's quite fascinating. Anyway, I love being here. Thanks for having me on. You're awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. For anyone who may not be familiar with you, would you mind telling them, first of all, where can they find you online? And also just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So you can find me online. Basically, just put it Buck Angel, and I'm a Buck Angel on Instagram, Twitter. Watch out for Twitter. I have my own YouTube channel, Buck Angel Official. That being said, I'm a transsexual man. I am a biological female who transitioned to live my life as a male 30 years ago. Wow. Every time I say that, I'm like, wow, this seems insane. I'm a 60-year-old
What?
transsexual. Yeah, I'm 60. I
You weren't
know.
60 at all.
Thank you, friend. Thank you. It's about living life happy. And that's why I sit here and why I have these conversations, because I want people to see a different side. I feel like the trans community is being sort of, it's being seen in a way that's mean and angry. And, and that's destructive to not only me, but other people like myself. So, it's important people see elder people in our community who have transitioned successfully and live a beautiful life.
Yeah. You said something just then. You said you described yourself as a transsexual
Yeah.
person instead of transgender. And I wanted to ask you about that because my friend Suhaila's in the chat. Hello, Suhaila. She says, thanks for the conversation. Holiday wishes to both of you. Keri and Buck, I'm grateful for you two and your voices. But right before we started, she said something in a comment about happy to see another transsexual person out here talking about these issues.
Yeah.
Why do you use that word instead of transgender?
Well, transsexual is important because transsexual comes from a different space. We used to call it transsexual before the sort of transgender thing came in. And what happened was they sort of pushed out this transsexual identity. Well, I don't want to call it necessarily an identity, but a space in order to create this transgender umbrella that doesn't encompass a person like myself. I just want to sort of like give these people the definition so they can actually see the difference. I am a biological female who never felt like a female, have what's called gender dysphoria. I was diagnosed by an actual, therapist many years ago. And from that, I started to get medical intervention so that I could start to look physically like a man. So we used to call it a sex change, for a lack of a better expression, so that we could walk the world as men and women and sort of coexist with you. Where transgender is now an umbrella term for 857 billion different identity choices growing every day. Frog. When Frog hit the identity choice, I was out. I tapped out. I'm done.
I missed Frog.
Frog. Literally frog. I'm like, okay, this is, I mean, mental illness at its finest. And I do claim my mental disorder. But that being said, it's why people need to see the difference between a person like myself, who doesn't want to be seen as a transsexual. I want to be seen as a man, and I want to live, though we acknowledge our biology. Without the biology, we're not trans.
Yeah. Like, what are you transitioning to if you don't acknowledge the biology?
Frogs. They're doing to
Frog.
frog. Wow.
Does that feel, that's got to feel maybe insulting or
Yeah.
embarrassing? Yeah.
Both. I think both. Also, it makes me sad because I just think that the whole narrative has been sort of misguided for a bunch of, I sit here for young people. I'm done. You know what I mean? I'm done with my transition. I have a beautiful life. I have so many amazing people and stuff, and I live an amazing life as a transsexual person. But that being said, I see what's happening with the younger generation that has me a little bit, well, I'm going to not lie, a lot concerned.
Yeah.
A lot.
We don't have to do the whole live show about this because I also want to cover, you guys, we're going to cover the Twitter files part 6. But there might be some people, it's the first time hearing from you.
Yeah.
And lately I've been trying to remember that there are people on the left who watch my show. I know because they sometimes message me angry things, but sometimes they message me after they've opened their mind a little bit. And so I always try and remember they might be watching. And so,
Mm,
um, when you say you have some issues with what's happening with younger people with the
mhm,
transgender movement, for lack of
mhm.
a word, what are some of those issues?
Well, I think these sort of crazy identity choices, and we're all affirming it. Like it's okay to be an it. We worked very hard to get away from those types of labels that were put on us back in the day. And it is not, to me, I find it's insulting that, it is not a positive thing. And so a frog or all these sort of mm, spaces that they're claiming to have, like, DID and PBD, and they're just like putting all of these sort of disorders attached to trans. And
DID, for anyone who doesn't know, that's
Mhm.
dissociative identity disorder. That's where someone says it used to be called multiple personality disorder.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. So, do I have a right to be concerned? I think so, because of my own
Mhm.
experience of 30 plus years, and not only in this community, but as a transitioned person. And I feel like the waters are getting muddied in a very dangerous way when I start seeing young people transition and then detransition a year or so later.
Yeah.
That has me concerned.
It's different than your experience because you, from what I recall, were like the first person in California,
Mm.
right?
In Los Angeles,
In Los
I'm
Angeles
sure there were others, but here 30 years ago, I was definitely an experiment, and that both doctors had never worked on a trans male before.
to
So,
go through transition.
yes.
And now it's like and there were lots of, hurdles and stuff or things that you went through first and kinds of therapy you did first, and now it's sort of, at least in my impression of it and the stories I've heard from detransitioners, is that there aren't any hurdles. It's in fact, it's like kind of like this is what we do. Let's not investigate any other options. Like maybe I saw one girl, maybe you saw her video. She talked about how she was already diagnosed with BPD, with borderline personality disorder, which includes a lack of understanding of one's identity, and they still pushed her towards transition, and now she's detransitioned. And so anyway, the point being, I don't think that kids go through the same process that you went through as an adult.
Oh, you're 100% right. They call that gatekeeping. And that's when it got, it's like everyone knows who they are. I'm like, that's actually not true. It took me a long time to figure out who I was and where I'm going to be and how happy I'm
Mm.
going to be. I transitioned at the age of 30. I did not transition at the age of 10 and or even 20. And so that being said, not everyone knows who they are, and why we do need these, I like to call it a safety net and not gatekeeping,
Mm.
because I did have the safety net. I had to go through years of therapy. I had to walk the walk and talk before I said I'm going to take this medicalized route. It might suck, it might suck on some level because everyone wants everything now, right?
Now,
Like
now, now.
now, and it's like hard, but I don't care how hard it is. It's the best thing when I start seeing hundreds, and let's not get mad out there, people. As well as I do, there are hundreds of detransitioners, if not more. And that is alarming. And that means something's wrong with the system.
Yes. I have to tell you a little funny aside when you said we want everything now, now, now. Years ago, when I started leaving social justice ideology, I was going to see a therapist, and she recommended the book The Power of Now.
Mhm.
And I listened to it on audiobook on 2 times the speed because I needed it now, now, now. Like, I was like, "I can't sit, this is taking too long. Give me the power of now faster."
Brilliant. That's brilliant, actually. I mean, you just said everything. That's it right there. Show's over.
Yeah, it's a book about, it actually helped me a lot. I went back and listened to it on regular speed later because it was very good, but it's funny because it's a book about being in the
That's right.
moment, and I was like, "Let's get to the future."
Yeah, it's real. I mean, I get it. Don't think I don't get these young people who want change or hurting. It's, we're not talking about the hurt. These kids have a lot of hurt, trauma. There's all kinds of stuff going on
Mm,
there that kids want to change their gender. Kids just don't want to change their gender for no reason. There's some stuff going on there, and
yeah.
I don't understand why these people keep calling it transphobic to want to get to the sort of meat of the problem and find a solution. Medical transition should be the last resort. It really should. It's not something I take lightly, nor do I tell you that. It's beautiful. It saved my life on some level. It made me have this great life and move forward in the world. But I don't wish this life on someone who possibly could not have to have it and move forward.
Yeah. You're reminding me of one of my friends who said something similar in that he also transitioned as an adult and said it saved his life, that
Yeah.
he had tried everything else. But he said because it's become what it's become now, this belief
Mhm.
system, this
Yeah.
orthodoxy, and also like a social contagion in some ways, with
Yeah.
lots of people getting pushed into this group who have other issues. Um, that he was like, I don't think they're ever going to figure out what was wrong with me in terms of the gender dysphoria, because now it's not being viewed as
There you
a
go.
mental disorder. It's being viewed as, well, this is just normal to feel like you're in the wrong body. And do you ever feel that they're just not going to, that's what's happening with, because you mentioned you have gender dysphoria. They don't
Yes.
even like to use that phrase anymore.
Nope. They say you don't need. Well, that was the thing that sort of, that sort of put the red flag up for me when they said you don't need gender dysphoria to be trans. I'm like, then what do you need? And if you don't
Mm,
need anything, you have it. This language, I can hear their language. The word of. So if you put I don't need gender dysphoria to be trans, or you put I have gender dysphoria. So these kids think they need things, right? If you don't need anything and you don't want it, you have it. And if you don't have it, it means you're not. But now that's why I told you there's a difference between them and me. They have an identity choice. They're choosing to be trans. You know that. They're
mhm,
choosing to identify. I don't identify as trans. This is my mental disorder that I needed to kind of fix on some level and learn how to walk the world with it.
mhm.
That's the big difference. I don't choose my identity.
But they're very much like, this is a choice in some ways.
That's right.
Yeah. Um, Before we move on to the Twitter files, I did want to ask you about, I called you fearless, but I was saying to you beforehand, I'm sure you have fears. You just are very good
Yeah.
at pushing through them.
Yeah.
Um, what kind of response, for anyone again who might be new to hearing from you, what kind of response have you gotten, both positive and negative, by speaking your mind?
Yeah, great question. My whole demographic of quote unquote fans or friends has changed drastically. And,
Mm,
I have a large contingent of female women, biological women because I speak up for that space, because I am a biological female and I lived my life as a biological woman or as a woman for many years of my life. And I was a gay woman and fought for women's rights. And just because I transitioned to look this way doesn't mean I don't remember my past or see those things. And I don't appreciate the way women are being treated by the trans community. So that being said, even that has changed. And the well, here's the deal. It's hard for me to say the trans community because I don't necessarily think of it as a community anymore. I think of
mm,
it as very split. I feel it's kind of cultish on some level. And it doesn't represent me. So it's, but that being said, the newer sort of idea of what trans is does not support me. So I get a lot of, I don't know, is it hate or whatever, pushback, or I get called transphobic, which I always find to be so. I mean, it makes me laugh because it's absurd beyond belief. I
So you
get
just
called
like
turf.
stand in the mirror and you're like, "Oh, you awful trans person." Like,
I'm just
ah,
like, wow. No, because I actually highlight it. I think it means something. And I think the world needs to see when a community that's supposed to be about loving and diversity, inclusion, diverse, they don't. It's a
mm,
bunch of bullshit. They do not have inclusivity, or they would include me and or people like me or Blair White or Ariel or all of us who sort of speak out against this. So the hate has come also from a community that I make products for. And I see things like boycott buck, and it hasn't really killed my business. But what I see is, I felt like I've done a service to my community and I helped them
yes,
sort of connect to themselves. And it's something I have a lot of passion for. Sex, whether you want to talk about it or not, has been very important in my life. And it's very important to people like us who disconnect from our bodies to learn how to connect. And anyway, long story short, when I see stuff like that, I'm just like, I don't need that. I don't need to be spoken down to or
mhm,
disrespected in a way. I feel like I've really worked hard to get our voices out there. But it's again, it comes when you're willing to push against a narrative. You know
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And so I'm willing to take those hits. I am, because I believe that I'm here to do that because I can. Not many people can do what I do in this trans
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
No. And if you weren't saying anything of importance, there wouldn't be the pushback.
Yeah.
Um,
That's right.
what about the positive response?
Oh my gosh. I mean, honestly, I would tell you that the love is bigger than the hate. It might sound right there that I felt like the hate. Nope, nope. I have so much love in the world and from many trans people who appreciate that I'm speaking up. They can't because many reasons, right? Jobs or
Mhm.
friends or whatever situation. But I'm really in such a powerful position on some level. I have a huge amount of love from, I mean, all over the world. Many women, men, trans people, gay people.
What
Like,
about the frogs?
I think the frogs hate me. I'm not, it's the TikTokers. The TikTokers hate me. The TikTokers think I'm just this really horrifying person and stay away from. I saw someone sent me a TikTok, stay away from Buck Angel. He's the worst person ever. I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty crazy to say to an elder of your community.
What about the young people who, not the TikTokers, but are there other young people who you've gotten a positive response from?
I have a huge amount of young people and
Mhm.
it's coming around more and more. They're scared to speak out. So I have it. It's sort of like I have secret little enclaves of supporters who can't, and there's a lot of young people who are starting to find me because I'm teaching them the difference between this transgender identity and if you are transsexual. Many of these kids are transsexual people. And when I say kids, I mean like 18, 20
Right.
years old, legal enough for me to have a conversation with. And
But
and
you're
that
60, so you're calling them kids. I get
that's
it.
right. I know it sounds all
I
creepy
call
now.
I call everyone under 30 kids.
But then we have the creeps out there who ruin it for the rest of us.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I try not to say kids anymore because it sounds so creepy. But the younger guys, younger trans men are really saying thank you. I don't want to be part of what's happening, and I appreciate you speaking out. And it's my job, and sort of it's me giving back. It's me coming around full circle and saying, this did save my life, and it will help so many other people.
Yeah. You one last thing before we started, I was telling you that I get the sense that there's more people who are trans or transsexual
Mhm.
who are, I don't wrong thinkers, catch-all term, who are not going along with the ideology, and you said you think so as well?
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt. Everyone's reclaiming the word transsexual now, which is so powerful. And they don't like it because it's separating us from that and showing the world that there is a huge difference about what is happening on this trans ideology as opposed to someone who really accepts their mental disorder. We accept our mental disorder. I want you to tell me that this is a mental disorder so that I can fix it. If I don't know what's wrong, like, right, if you don't know what's wrong with your
Right.
car, it keeps conking out and you keep taking it places and they're like, we don't know what's wrong with it. And finally, you find a mechanic that says, "Oh, dude, it's your carburetor." You're like, "Oh, fix it, move forward." That's what a diagnosis
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, it's funny, I interviewed this marriage and family therapist, Jake Wiskerson. I'm
Mm,
gonna talk to him again on Friday.
mm.
He was telling me that the therapists now are being told to validate not just for when kids come in and say, "I'm trans," not just to validate that, but to validate any diagnosis.
Oh,
So if the patient is like if you tell the patient, "I think you have a personality disorder," maybe, and they're like, "No, it's depression. Treat the depression." Like, you're supposed to validate and treat
oh my
what
God.
they so why are they going there?
Self-diagnosis.
Yes.
We've now created self. That's why
Yeah.
I very push back against self-ID, and I push back against this affirmative therapy. What That's like such a oxymoron on some level. Affirmative therapy, like it
Yes.
doesn't make sense. It's literally spinning out. It's spinning around.
Yeah.
You cannot affirm. A person goes to therapy to find out what's wrong with them. If you're just saying, okay, you're that kid or that person is self-diagnosing, and how long I'm going to go back to detransitioners. Every single one of them said that. They did not get proper mental health care.
Mhm. It's a bit like Stuart Smalley from SNL.
Mm.
They're just going to therapy to be told, "You're good enough, you're strong enough, you're smart enough, and people like you."
That's right. Yeah, no pushback, right? You're kidding me. These are going to be great adults when they get out there and then they realize people are calling me she when I'm a he. I'm going to, it's just, we're giving these kids the most insane no tools. We're giving them no tools to walk the world. And it's actually so bad. And it's just, where are the adults? I feel so mad at the adults. This is not the young people's fault. This is the
I think so
adults.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. A real breakdown, I think, of just parenting and the medical
Everything.
establishment, everything.
Yep.
I have a super chat from Poetry Painter. Thank you, lady. She
Oh, right
says,
on.
"Hi, Buck. Was there ever a time when there was a healthy and supportive trans community that was not so hateful and judgmental and negative?"
Oh, what a great question. Yes, there was. I grew up in it. And because we were small, which we are small. What you see today is something else. There's no way the trans
Mhm.
community can explode like that. It's just not possible. All of a sudden, right, if you could just lay that on any other sort of disorder, all of a sudden if it exploded in 1 year, you're like, "What? Like how come these people weren't diagnosed like that 30 years ago like me or even 10 years ago?" So that being said, yeah, we were much closer. We actually helped each other. We cared about each other. Of course, you have spats, right, in communities, but I would say all in all, we never pushed against the world the way these people are pushing. We never pushed against biology. We never pushed against, anyone is allowed to do anything they want. That just goes against everything we sort of most transsexual, I would say, I don't want to speak for people, but in the transsexual space, we want to coexist with you. We want to walk the world with you. We want to be a part of the world. We don't want to be separate or looked at as different. We want to be looked at as sort of like this way that we can sort of, because we're honest with you. I never had so many problems in the world that I have today prior to this whole new trans space. People totally accepted me and were cool about it.
Mhm. Now it comes with it. It makes me think of have you heard the social justice people who say, "Well, you can be black, but you're not politically black."
I mean, what? What? It's insane.
Like, I don't really know what that means.
I don't. It's that people always. It's. I'm telling you, it's really social media. I feel it. It's so detrimental to these kids' brains, and they're being told things that are not real, but they're being told to them that like they are real. That is so scary.
Yeah. I wanna I'm sorry, I got distracted for 1 second. I saw this chat go by.
Yeah.
I just wanna say congrats, Night Train, on giving up drinking. He says, "Best decision I
Excellent.
ever made. I don't think I would have been technically an alcoholic, but I thought if you think about
Wow.
it, it's a problem."
Yep.
Yes. And
Yep.
then, he said, "Neurotic Gary gave me the impulse to ditch the habit. Kerry too. Gary's story's so crazy, it made me take a second look.
Wow.
Kerry told a story of Late Night Preacher." I will tell you that
Wow.
story real quick
Yeah.
is I heard this, this radio show. Because if anybody's got something in the chat, I'm sure all the time everybody's got something we could be like,
Yeah.
maybe, like Jordan Peterson says, maybe I'd be better
Mm.
in a year if I gave that thing up. And I heard this call-in show where this guy called in to the chaplain in a show about alcoholism, and he
Mhm.
was like, "Here's how much I drink, and here's how much I eat, and here's how much I weigh, and do I have a problem?"
Mm.
And that's a question I think that plagues a lot of people when you want to hold on to that crutch. And the chaplain, the pastor was like, "Look, it doesn't matter how much you drink. It really doesn't.
Mm.
And how much you weigh and all that stuff. Nobody who doesn't have a problem is calling into a late night radio show at 2 in the morning asking if they have a problem."
That's
Like,
right.
and that clicked for me. I was like, "That's it. Got my question answered. Mine too." Right? Like,
Yep,
so.
yep, that's right, powerful. Yeah, I'm 30 years sober from drugs and alcohol. It
Oh,
did save my
congrats.
life, and I do believe in sobriety on so many levels to clear yourself out. Now I use cannabis, but,
Mhm,
that's from my own space of trying to find medication that's not pharmaceutical for
mhm,
I have horrible insomnia, and, it has really been a blessing for me,
mhm.
to use it in that space. But, again, I had 30 years under my belt before I even tested the waters. And,
Yeah.
alcoholism comes from many things, my friend, talking to your guest there, for many things, my friend. And I just want to tell you that it takes a lot of really self-love to say to yourself, I have a problem. So I'm sending you tons of tramp all love, my friend, but you got it because you just admitted it. And we all know that's the first step right there.
Yeah. Uh, I love that. I love that you have 30 years sobriety. I'm very because that encourages me. I'm only it was 3 years in October.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
lot. Are you kidding me? That's
Yeah.
like huge.
It's huge
Wow.
for me. I'm like, and I don't see myself returning. And I also don't judge, like you said, use cannabis. I don't judge what other people are
Right on.
doing, or it's just what works for me, and knowing
That's right.
yourself. And like, I know in my case, maybe in 30 years it'll be different. But if I were to have pot, then I would have wine by that evening.
That's right. No, I always tell everyone, you better have some serious time under your belt because you got stuff you got to take care of. You know, I really believe a lot of my alcoholism, a lot of the drug addiction came from my, dealing with my gender dysphoria and not having anybody to tell me that I had that, or, walking the world. That's why I get these kids who are really dysphoric and can't stand to be misgendered. It is horrible and it is painful, and it does lead, and that's why I drank, and that's why I did all those. So I realized through my sobriety and all of that, I needed to get to the root of the problem. So you're getting to the root of the problem, and once you get to the root of the problem, things just start to happen for you that are just incredible because you're taking care of yourself, my friend. I really love that you're doing that.
Yeah. That's one of the things they said, because I was going to AA for a while when I first quit. And I remember they said, and it helped me think about it differently. They were like, alcohol is not your problem. Truly, it's your symptom.
That's right.
And there's a problem that's deeper. And that this happens to be your symptom. People have different ways, different coping mechanisms. And anyway.
That's right.
Thanks for talking about that with me.
Right on.
Yeah, congrats, Night Train.
Thank you. You too.
Congrats to you. Okay, we're going to get into the Twitter files part 6. And I've been reading through these slowly, and I think every channel should be covering these because the mainstream news is not. And so some people, myself included, like to listen rather than read through all this stuff. So we're going to read it. And especially if there's any people watching or listening who are from, who, like I mentioned before, are maybe considered themselves on the left or watching the show with skepticism, we'll just ask you to ask yourself if you've heard about this in the mainstream news and maybe why not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pull this one up. In some ways, Buck, I think this stuff is bigger than Watergate, and they're just ignoring it completely.
100%, my friend. It's easy to ignore these days.
Yeah.
Right?
It's crazy. Okay, so part 6 is brought to us by Matt Taibbi on Twitter. And we're just going to read through some of this, and then we might pause. And if you have something you want to say, Buck, just interrupt me.
Sure.
Thread, the Twitter files part 6, Twitter, the FBI subsidiary. The Twitter files are revealing more every day about how the government collects, analyzes, and flags your social media content. Twitter's contact with the FBI was constant and pervasive, as if it were a subsidiary. Between January 2020 and November 2022, there were over 150 emails between the FBI and former Twitter trust and safety chief Yoel Roth.
What?
See, this is so important because what they've been saying for the past few years when they defend censorship is they say, well, it's a private company, as if that matters in terms of ethics. I still don't like censorship, even if it's a private company.
That's right. That's right. It's still it's because that's censorship, and that's not what we stand for in this country. That's that BS that they keep putting out there. Well, it's a private company.
Yeah.
No. If you're going to have something for the public, you also have to understand that the public is supposed to be able to say whatever they need to say in this space. And if you don't like it, make it a private app where people go in and say, this is what, because Twitter's never been like, Twitter was supposed to be a platform where we could all say what we needed to say. Sorry, go.
That's how they advertise themselves.
That's
too.
right.
They advertise themselves as a First Amendment supporting free speech platform. That's fraud.
Yes.
You got people to come use your platform and make all this money for your company under the guise of being for free speech, but you weren't. Wow. And then regardless, in Twitter files part 6, we see that that's not even true, that it was entirely the private company making the decisions. They've had all this contact with the FBI, over 150 emails. So
holy crap.
I'll continue. Some are mundane, like San Francisco agent Elvis Chan. What a great name. Wishing Roth a happy new year, along with a reminder to attend our quarterly call next week. Others are requests for information into Twitter users related to active investigations, but a surprising high number are requests by the FBI for Twitter to take action on election misinformation, even involving joke tweets from low follower accounts.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm like, what? Is this Russia?
Yeah. They're like,
I mean, what?
Or they're like, we don't like this cat turd tweet. Hello, this is the FBI. Cat Turd is
Oh
up to some no
my.
good today.
I don't care what side you're on, right sides, because that's where we're at. I don't care. This goes against everything we're supposed to be. This is actually scary. I think
It
so.
is.
Yep,
Because what happens when it's not in favor of the side that you think you're on?
that's right.
It's
There you go.
never in favor of your side, by the way. The
That's
government.
right. Oh my God. Wow. I mean, where are more people like us? I mean, it's real basic.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Your side should be individual rights, not right. It doesn't matter right and left.
Wow.
This is the government coming in and saying, why don't you censor this Twitter person?
That's right.
Okay. The FBI's social media focused task force, known as FTIF, the FBI is a social media task force. Okay, FTIF, created in the wake of the 2016 election, swelled to 80 agents and corresponded with Twitter to identify alleged foreign influence and election tampering of all kinds.
Okay.
Federal intelligence and law enforcement reach into Twitter included the Department of Homeland Security, which partnered with security contractors and think tanks to pressure Twitter to moderate content.
Oh, wow.
It's no secret the government analyzes bulk data for all sorts of purposes, everything from tracking terror suspects to making economic forecasts.
Mm.
But the Twitter files show something new. Agencies like the FBI and DHS regularly sending social media content to Twitter through multiple entry points pre-flagged for moderation. What stands out is the sheer quantity of reports from the government. Some are aggregated from public hotlines, and then they have an example from the FBI El Paso, something about election day protocol for FBI headquarters is to stand up a national election command post, which provides a centralized location for assessing election-related threats. Status reports and complaints are tracked. Here's a tip line. Okay, so some of this stuff they were getting from tip lines.
Yeah.
An unanswered question: do agencies like the FBI and DHS do in-house flagging work themselves or farm it out?
Mm.
Quote, you have to prove to me that inside the fucking government you can do any kind of massive data or AI search, end quote, says one former intelligence officer.
Wow. I mean, I'm actually blown away by this
But
whole
this
thing.
is it's crazy also because I like to imagine that the FBI is wearing like trench coats and out like, going after spies,
That's
but they're
right.
like
That's right.
sitting there devoting all this time
To
to what.
Twitter.
Yeah.
You see, Twitter has become this thing, and I can't even place. I'm still on Twitter. I'm not leaving. I don't care
Yeah.
who takes it. I don't care what. I don't care. I'm not leaving because I think when we leave, because it feels like you're being a big baby. Wah, I don't like the way it is now. I'm leaving. I'm like, but why? When you leave, you're letting whoever you don't like actually win on some level, right? So I don't understand this. How people have become so one-sided in their thought process. If you leave, then you're not getting to put your opinion on there anymore, and you're not, does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't get it.
Look,
This is so scary.
I have to show you this real quick. I'm going to pause the Twitter files just to show you this. Now that you're mentioning, did you see this the other day? It's a journalist, I believe, from MSNBC.
Okay.
I was working, let's see, so it was Saturday. And I just couldn't help. I couldn't help. I know I am, I helped to amplify this guy, but I couldn't help it because it's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Wait, it's not.
Wait.
Yeah, there. Okay. Right on.
He says,
That's me.
I refuse to leave. But no, but he's not saying it like you. He's saying it like as if there's some big push for
Okay, I
Kyle
get it.
Griffin from MSNBC to get off the platform,
Yeah.
journalist.
Oh my God. Wah,
And
wah. They're
like
such babies.
he's such a baby, like he's Rosa Parks.
No, I know. And that's the other thing. People think so highly of themselves, don't they? It's like, we don't care. Either leave or don't leave. Like, it's like when people stop following you. Oh my gosh, people will write me stuff. I used to respect you, Buck. Blah, blah, blah. I'm unfollowing you. I'm like, be sure that you shut the door behind you. And no one needed, and I don't really care. So why are you announcing it? Like, just leave. Who cares? Like I'm
Yeah.
supposed to cry because I lost a follower. I'm not here for followers, just so everybody knows. I'm not here for followers. I'm here because I believe that I need to say things, and that's what
Yes.
everyone should stand for.
Yes.
Everyone needs to stop being a baby because someone didn't like what you said, or you said something. It's just that's you see, I get so spun out because it's just not where I come from. I'm a fighter.
Yeah. They also like to they announce when they leave, they announce when they're staying. Like the best
It's just,
response I saw to this that people like to post in the comments now is like, this is not an airline, you don't need to announce your departure. I think
that's
it's so
right.
perfect.
Yeah.
But they always make me think of I have an excuse to play this one. I have clips uploaded for fun, and I'm going to play this one. They always make me think of this scene when they say they're leaving and they don't because they keep coming back to say more things. They make me think of this scene from The Jerk. Here we go.
Well, I'm gonna go then. And I don't need any of this. I don't need this stuff. And I don't need you. I don't need anything. Except this. This ashtray. And that's the only thing I need is this. I don't need this or this. Just this ashtray. This paddle game.
So that's classic. I remember that's so brilliant.
Every time he's like taking so long to leave because he really wants her to beg him to stay.
That's right.
That's what they're like. They're like,
Typical.
yeah, so silly. Like, please
What
don't
a
go.
shame. I know, please. I'm leaving. I'm leaving, and no one's giving me any attention. I'm leaving. Leave already.
Okay. If you're just joining us, we are reading through Twitter Files number 6, Matt Taibbi. I'm going to continue. So he's talking about Twitter Files number 6 is all about the government involvement in Twitter censorship. So let's see. Here we go. Hello, Twitter contacts. That's in quotes. Wow. The master canine quality of the FBI's relationship to Twitter comes through in this November 2022 email, in which, quote, FBI San Francisco is notifying you, end quote, it wants action on 4 accounts. And so you can see this email from the FBI. Hello, Twitter contacts. FBI San Francisco is notifying you of the below accounts, which may potentially constitute violations of Twitter's terms of service for any action or inaction deemed appropriate within Twitter policy. And then they have these 4 random accounts. I don't recognize them.
Me neither.
Signed Fred. That's a fake name, I bet.
I bet it is.
FBI.
Fred at the FBI SF. Fred.
Sure, Fred.
Hell.
Twitter personnel in that case went on to look for reasons to suspend all 4 accounts, including Froma, F-R-O-M-M-A, whose tweets are almost all jokes.
Oh my God.
See sample below, including his, quote, civic misinformation of November 8th. So here's an email, and it looks like they say, FBI folks, this is from Twitter, FBI folks, I've reviewed this already from the TD perspective and suspended 3 of the accounts for multi-account abuse and ban evasion violations. Rodrigo, could you please review this other account for possible civic misinformation or direct to the appropriate part of GET for their review? And so they say they've escalated it to whatever the GET department is. And here's the tweet. It's a joke. Proposed container ship if there's a worldwide recession.
Wow.
It's a it's a big
full-on joke. It's
joke.
A joke. But we're not allowed to joke anymore.
Yeah.
And are people stupid? Because when we start messing with the jokes and people can't joke, just why don't people remember history? I don't understand. Or they don't know their history, right? People don't know how freedom of speech is so important to democracy.
Yeah.
It is like the number one thing as far as I'm concerned. What is wrong with everybody?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know comedian Gino Bisconti? He does a show called In Hot Water.
It sounds very familiar. He sounds familiar.
You should meet him.
Okay, I should.
He does all this, like, he'll be the first one to say, even on stage, his comedy, he does all this stupid comedy, and he makes fun of like stereotypes, and he does it, but in between, he mixes in this great message. The last time I saw him perform, and I think it goes down better because it's in between all this silly, ridiculous comedy, and he sandwiches in this message about free speech. It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. And about also, Buck, about what you're just saying about humor, he mixes in this message about like, look, humor is the way that it's like catharsis. It's how we process things.
It's political. Comedy
Yes.
is a political, it's always been in a political space. It's why you can get things across. It's like when I talk about myself, I make fun of myself. I'm a man with a vagina. Right? Because then it kind of is funny. It's not normal. And I'm not trying to normalize it. I'm just saying it's kind of funny. And then people laugh and we move forward because I know how to make fun of myself because it's important. It's the way people sort of let their guard down around me and like, oh, Buck's actually cool. He doesn't take himself too seriously. I don't.
Yes. Good. Too many people do. Okay. We're going to continue. Twitter files, part number 15. Just to show the FBI can be hyper intrusive in both directions, they also asked Twitter to review a blue leaning account for a different joke, except here is even more obvious that Claire Foster, PhD, who kids a lot, was kidding. And so it's another email saying, hey, Twitter contacts. FBI San Francisco is notifying you of the below account activities, which may potentially constitute violations of Twitter's terms of service, etc. And so they have the accounts listed here. It says Twitter account Claire Foster, PhD, claimed in her post that she is a ballot counter in her state. And an additional post states, for every negative comment on this post, I'm another vote for the Democrats. And if you're not wearing a mask, I'm not counting your vote. Joke.
Hilarious. Oh, right. I actually retweeted something from that person. Thought it was real because they said, for now on, we should not name babies. We should number them. And I actually thought it was real because this person is so close to real.
Yes.
Everything they do is so real. And I actually got busted because they're not. But I made a point to say, this is how comedy and reality are sort of now being merged. And why aren't everybody up in arms about this happening?
Satire is harder to do because reality is so absurd.
There you go. That's exactly right.
You got to get really absurd.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I've fallen for some of those fake accounts as well.
Because they seem so real. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that the next thing we're going to do is number children instead of give them gender and names. Because why would we give them names? They're not really humans. They're just like, it's so bizarre, the whole thing. What they're doing to kids is sick.
All of these jokes, like from the satirical accounts, a lot of them end up coming true.
I know, that's the scary part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Sue's here. Hello, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Okay. We're going to continue. This is Twitter Files Part 6. We're just reading through it for anyone who hasn't read it yet. So you know what's in this one. Anyone who cannot discern obvious satire from reality has no place making decisions for others or working for the feds, said Claire Foster, PhD, when told about the flagging. Of the 6 accounts mentioned in the previous 2 emails, all but 2, Claire Foster, PhD, and From Ma, were suspended. In an internal email from November 5th, 2022, the FBI's National Election Command Post, which compiles and sends on complaints, sent the San Francisco field office a long list of accounts that, quote, may warrant additional action. Look at this huge list of people that they're like,
am I on there?
I don't see you.
Did I make the list?
I think these are also probably small accounts. Like they said, they're even going after like small
very
accounts.
Small. Mm-hmm.
Agent Chan passed the list on to his, quote, Twitter folks. So you can see an email from Elvis Chan sending that list to, and there's his pronouns in case you didn't know.
Oh my God. That just says everything. Right there. When someone has their pronouns in their bio, I'm done. I'm done.
Elvis. I kind of considered Elvis was a he.
Yeah,
I'm
no
glad
kidding.
he confirmed.
You don't know these days. A Frog. I'm surprised Frog isn't in there.
Frog.
Idiots.
Fred Frog at the FBI. Okay, so Twitter then replied with its list of actions taken. Note mercy shown to actor Billy Baldwin. So they've got this whole email back to the FBI where they're like, thank you for your patience. We've suspended these. We temporarily suspended this one. We've bounced tweets on this one. Yeah. I don't see Billy Baldwin on there, but.
Unbelievable. This is scary. You know that? I'm scared.
Oh, and Buck, I know it doesn't need to be said, but maybe it does for anyone in the left echo chamber is watching.
Mhm.
Because I do know people in real life who will ask me sometimes about things, like my opinion on things, and
Mhm.
I think they view me as a curiosity. And some of them are really not aware of all the censorship that's been happening the past few
True.
years.
True.
So it doesn't need to be said, but maybe it does. If this is happening at Twitter, it's happening at Facebook.
Oh my God, it's happening on
Every
every social media platform. There's no doubt. I mean, I don't know why Twitter never really messed with me. I'll be honest with you. I have a huge following on Twitter, and I say some things that are considered transphobic. Like I say biology is the reason you're trans, which spins the whole trans community out, right? But
wow.
it gets reported, and they never take it down. They don't take any of my stuff down. I'm actually kind of like, wow, this is so interesting. So, I'll be honest with you, Twitter hasn't messed with me. They've been really actually letting me have my freedom of speech on there.
That's amazing. Do
It is.
you think it might be because you're trans and they are like don't want the press if they ban a trans?
Especially me, because I'm a loudmouth, right?
Yeah.
So 100%, I think, and I have a large number on there, so I would go missing, right?
Mhm.
People would notice that I was gone
Oh
on some
yeah.
level, and I think because I'm trans and because I speak for myself, so that's the key to sort of me putting stuff out there. I say I'm a biological female, right? If I wasn't a biological female, I wouldn't be trans, right? And trans is connected to it. So I kind of have to word it in a way that I'm not speaking for the
For
community,
other
but
people.
right, and then that gets people so mad because no, I can say whatever I want. Anyway, my point being is it's pretty amazing that I haven't been banned on there.
Yeah. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to continue Twitter Files Part 6. Many of the above accounts were satirical in nature. Nearly all, with the exceptions of Baldwin and the RSBN network, were relatively low engagement, and some were suspended, most with a generic thanks Twitter letter. And they have some of the examples here, the jokes that got
Oh,
these people
right.
suspended.
Offended.
When told of the FBI flagging, Lexitola replied, who is this? Lexitola replied, "My thoughts initially include number one, seems like prima facie
Mm,
First Amendment violation.
mm.
Number two, holy cow, me, an account with the reach of an amoeba 3. No, of an amoeba 3. What are they looking at? I can't believe the FBI is policing jokes on Twitter. That's crazy,"
I
said
know.
Tiberius 444.
Wow.
In a letter to former Deputy General Counsel and former top FBI lawyer Jim Baker on September 16th, 2022, legal executive Stacia Cardilli outlines results from her, quote, soon to be weekly, end quote, meetings with DHS, DOJ, FBI, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
What?
All of these people were meeting with Twitter weekly.
How is this possible? How did they get connected? I'm actually, my mind is blown. I don't understand how they got so connected. Do you think the FBI reached to them, or how do you think it
I
even?
bet the FBI reached to them because in one of the previous Twitter files dump, they showed internal like text or Slack
Mhm,
messages between employees at
mhm,
Twitter, and
mhm.
they were getting off on it like drunk on power. They were all kind of making jokes
Wow.
about they're like, I don't know how to disguise my meetings anymore. And they're like, super secret meeting, definitely not with the FBI, definitely not with Trump. Like not about Trump, they
Oh
loved it.
my
They were,
God.
I bet they felt like they were in a spy movie or
Oh, no, they totally did, and actually looking back now on Twitter, you can see this is why they had power on some level, because they were being sort of, backed by the FBI and the government, that they could take so
yeah,
many of my friends' accounts got taken down
yeah,
for wrong speech.
yeah.
It's so crazy.
Who did you know who
Oh
got
my God. Oh gosh, I gotta start. Was it Andrew Doyle? Didn't he lose his account? And
Oh,
like,
yeah, I
oh
think
yeah, he
so.
did. And then, gosh, I can't remember his name right now. Shoot. Uh, uh,
That's fine.
so,
Uh,
just
a lot
so
of them have come back now,
now they're
but
coming back. This one
yeah,
guy, gosh, I can't remember his name right now. It'll come back to me, but he's like a huge comedy writer in the UK. A lot of UK people lost their accounts.
yeah.
What's his name? He's great. He's a comedy writer, but
I
uh,
think they're more over in the UK. I
yeah,
mean, they don't even have the First Amendment, so it's been happening for a while. We're just catching
yeah,
up to what they're doing.
yep, that's right. That's right. But
with all of
they're shutting down a lot of stuff around the trans, stuff. They shut it all down.
yeah.
Thank God. If people started hearing, but here they're ramping it up. So that's also kind of interesting to me. UK shutting down everything that we talked about. Yet the US is ramping up more
Oh, you mean the
access.
facilities where they were doing transitions
That's
for
right.
children?
That's right. They shut it down. Tavistock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God.
We're behind them. That's why. I think we have to play
Oh,
like
right.
catch up. It's like
Yeah.
they're sort of further along maybe, and
Yeah.
we'll probably get there. But I mean,
But
Sweden.
remember, they have the NHS, we don't. So I really do believe a lot of this is attached to money and why it's so easily accessible for young people. You can go on the internet and you can literally go on the internet and do a 15-minute intake with a doctor or a clinician and get testosterone mailed to your house.
What?
Yeah, not kidding. Folks, FOLX dot, I think it's com. Check it out. Folks Health. Folkshealth.com, I think. Oh, it's disgusting. I'm going after them. I cannot. Yeah, nope.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
I'm so glad you're out there.
I
I'm
mean,
so
wow.
glad you do what you do.
Testosterone. Look at me. I used to look like you. This is testosterone, people. It's not a joke. No turning back. I get no U-turn. You know what I mean? I'm never gonna be a lady again, even if I wanted to be. That's why it's like, why are we handing out testosterone like it's just so accessible and easily like if a bio man wants it, he has to go through all of these things to get it.
And they always say it's reversible. All of this is reversible.
Unbelievable. Can you
Yeah.
imagine saying that? Look at me. You think this is reversible, people? Come on. I'd be the ugliest lady in the world. For real.
Okay. This one I know. I've got this on this. Oh wait, no, I don't. Let me add it. I've got this email here on the screen, but I know it's too hard to read if you're trying to read along. But this is the letter to former Deputy General Counsel and former top FBI lawyer Jim Baker on September 16, 2022. And legal executive Stacia Cardilla outlines results from her soon-to-be weekly meeting with the DHS, DOJ, FBI, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. So she's just like telling him all the work that she's doing with the FBI, what she's doing on it, and that this is now going to be a weekly meeting with all these government departments. The Twitter executive writes that she explicitly asks if there were impediments to the sharing of classified information with industry. The answer, quote, FBI was adamant, no impediments to sharing exist. This passage underscores the unique one big happy family vibe between Twitter and the FBI. With what other firm would the FBI blithely agree to no impediments to classified information?
There you go.
They were giving classified information to
Unbelievable.
Twitter.
But can I ask a question?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's going to happen? So now that this is exposed, huge news. What happens now?
I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine because the mainstream media is either completely ignoring it.
They
Like
are.
if you go to every day I go and look at the front page of CNN, just to see they're ignoring it. If they do cover it, I found a couple of mainstream articles if you do a search and they cover it on the headlines, Buck, you can imagine them. They're like, why the Twitter files is everything it claims to be against, like why it's fascist or something. Like,
yeah, right.
And the crazy headlines telling you why it's some kind of thing you should not read.
Wow. Of course they're telling you. They will do that stuff in our community. Oh, you don't need to read those reports. I already read it for you. Yeah. What? Like that's exactly how they manipulate the community. And that's exactly what they're doing there. Don't worry, you don't need to read it. I read it and I'm telling you it's bad. And that's how we have become. People don't read because they believe what they're being told.
Yeah. Or like that person who said, stay away from Buck Angel.
There you go.
Don't listen to him.
That's right. Because when people come to listen to me, they usually agree with me. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're actually saying what I want to say. So that's why they try to keep people, right?
Yeah.
Away.
Tell you what to think and hope that you won't look into it.
That's right.
At the bottom of that letter, Again, if you're just joining, we're reading Twitter Files Part 6. This one was posted by Matt Taibbi. At the bottom of that letter, she lists a series of escalations apparently raised at the meeting, which were already handled.
Handled.
About one, she writes, flagged a specific tweet on Illinois' use of modems to transmit election results and possible violation of the civic integrity policy. Except they do use that tech in limited circumstances, end quote. So she's admitting.
That's right.
They do use it, but I flagged it anyway.
It's so absurd. This is Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. This is crazy. This is like the stuff where in Twitter Files 4 and 5 where they were like, well, Trump hasn't actually violated any policy. Well, but is he using coded language? No, I don't think he's using coded language either. And then by the end of it, they're like, he's totally using coded language. Ban him.
Oh my gosh, it's insane.
Like they just work like a mob. They work themselves up to that point.
I think that they call that a circle jerk. I have a better terminology. I mean, literally, they're all just like, oh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Another internal letter from January 2021 shows Twitter executives processing an FBI list of, quote, possible violative content tweets. And then there's a whole list of these individual tweets for them. They want Twitter to look at. Here, too, most tweets contained the same, quote, get out there and vote Wednesday trope and had low engagement. This is what the FBI spends its time on.
Wow.
So here's one of them. B. Yates said, this is our future, guys. If the Dems get full control, if you are in Georgia, you better vote Wednesday. FBI flagged that.
That is that, but they do. What? That is a right of a person to say. He didn't say anything like dangerous. He said, go vote.
Maybe it's because he was responding to this other person who said, so Cuomo wants to imprison suspected COVID carriers, force vaccinations without due process, things power-hungry madmen would do.
So if he said that, so what? I mean, why can't he? Why can't we have an opinion?
Say that?
Why can't you say that? And why can't that be an opinion? Right? That's because you can tell. He's not saying. Oh my God! I just feel like I don't even know what universe I live in anymore.
I think it's the drunk on power thing.
Yeah, I think you hit it.
Like where they're like,
sure.
You start to think it's like you become your own god, and you're
like,
I'm the one. Did you ever see Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah.
Did you like the ending?
Oh yeah.
I did too.
Yep.
A lot of people didn't like it, but I liked it.
Well, of course not. They didn't like because they didn't get it. But people are always expecting. That people are expecting what they want to see, and when they don't see it. I think it makes, but that's good. I think that's make endings controversial. Like
it is, and
the way you make a good show.
She's drunk on power towards the end. Daenerys,
that's right.
Which she says in this conversation with Jon Snow, when he's basically like, why are we going to kill all these people in the pursuit of freeing people? And she was saying that it's basically she was making the argument that the ends justify the means. And he's like, but who gets to determine that? Like, who gets to determine what's good? And she's like, we do.
Oh,
that's Twitter.
That gives me chills. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. There are people who are pulling the strings right now on so many levels about our freedom of speech. And I don't care what side you stand with or where you're at. That is really a value of living in this country. I've lived out of this country. I lived in Mexico for 10 years. I've traveled the world all over the place. You don't understand if you haven't really understood what you have here. And I understand what I have here, that many, many people in other countries get hanged for saying things that we're allowed to supposedly say right here. So I think people are missing the point. Whether you agree with what somebody tweets, and it's Twitter, people, and does Twitter have that much power to influence people? I mean, that's the absurdity of it all, and the fact that you get so scared of somebody saying something you dislike that you want to be okay with the FBI. What's the next step that happens from here? Right?
Yeah. Jail. If you tweet something, maybe.
That's right. That's right.
They're prosecuting people, or they were anyway, in the UK for hate speech.
There you go. And also for not transitioning your children. Do you know that? They're in Canada, and in fact, in places in this country, it's starting to happen where if you don't acknowledge your child as trans, they can take your child away. That's real. Look it up. I can send any information you want on it. It's real. That's happening in this country. That's because little things like this are breaking open a system that we have fought for and that we're supposed to have. Democracy is so important, and that includes freedom of speech.
Yeah. It's all an escalation. Hey,
Yep.
by the way, one of my mods, thank you, Cheeky Mare, she pointed out in the chat that you and I missed the joke here and why this person got banned. Let me go back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so she says, because this person says, this is our future, guys. If the Dems get full control, if you're in Georgia, you better vote Wednesday.
Mhm.
And she said voting Wednesday would be one day too late. That's
Thank you, friend. Thank you, friend.
Cheeky Mare.
Right on, because I'm so I'm spinning out on how mad I am about all of this nonsense.
I missed that joke, but you shouldn't get suspended for that. That's silly. That's such a
Silly.
as if B. Yates is gonna influence people to vote the wrong day. I mean,
some of the stuff I see being put out there that is actually wrong when they say trans women get their periods, right? That is literally left up there, and as if that is factually wrong. That's a factually wrong statement. And how are those things being left up there? Yet when somebody makes a joke about something, it gets, that's what I think people really need to see. What's being taken down and what's being left up.
yeah. I didn't realize until, I guess, relatively late that when people were talking about how Dylan, Dylan Mulvaney is?
Of course.
Yes. Dylan Mulvaney had gotten a sponsorship from Tampax. I thought that was a joke.
Right.
It was real. Tampax did a sponsorship deal.
I know. It's sick. It's wrong. And you can't let this happen, people. You got boycott Tampax. That means I made a tweet that totally went crazy. I wrote, Tampax are not for buttholes.
Oh, double entendre.
Totally.
Double meaning.
I'm like, no, you don't get your period. You're a biological male. You'll never get your period. I don't care how much estrogen you put in your body.
And you're a butthole.
Insulting. And you're a butthole. And they're not make your own kind of product for your butthole, but like those are for actual women who get their period. And it's a very private space. It's not fun. Yeah. Like we shouldn't be making these like things around this. And it's a very I had my period, I know. And it is a very personal space that now it's just like, these trans women are like running around with tampons and putting them in their nose. They're literally putting them in their nose, their ears. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah. So I think so much of that is like just a mockery of
that's right
womanhood or something. I don't know.
It's upsetting, and it upsets me. I feel very upset by it. I don't like it. It's not part of being trans. It's making a mockery of us.
Yeah. Okay, we're continuing with the Twitter files. Number 31. This is part 6 from Matt Taibbi. In this March of 2021 email, an FBI liaison thanks a senior Twitter executive for the chance to speak to, quote, you and the team, and then delivers a packet of, quote, products.
What?
I wanted to flag a few products that were released today and earlier in the week that may be of assistance to Twitter.
What kind of products?
Any questions?
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I'm kind of weirded out by that one. What? No,
maybe some kind of
whose products?
Tracking the FBI's products.
Wow.
Hi, Stacey. It was great speaking with you and the team at Twitter last week. I want to flag a few products that were released today.
Oh, wow. I see. Oh, my gosh. This could be a great movie.
Yeah, it should be.
That's right.
It should be a document. You know what? I almost think that the people who are in the echo chamber, they won't watch a documentary about anything. But if you put this if you made it into a fictional
That's
script,
right.
They would watch it.
They would. We could literally make a film out of this. They would watch it. They would. They've done it with all these kind of sketchy stuff, right? They made movies so people understand Watergate or these kinds of things. It's these people, I think, retain the information on some level better.
Okay. Hello, Twitter contacts. Oh, wait. It seems like we went backwards. We did.
So,
somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
No, it happens.
So we were at the part where they're talking about new products. Okay. The executive circulates the quote products, which are really DHS bulletins, stressing the need for greater collaboration between law enforcement and quote private sector partners. Please see the prod. So this is an email from Stacia Cardilli at
Wow.
is she at the FBI? Yes. Please see the products the FBI Office of Public Sector just provided to us. No, she's from Twitter. They just provided to us. Please feel free to share with your teams. And then it looks like you've got 3 bullet points here. Russian malign influence, use of permissive social media platforms, heightened domestic violent extremist threat to persist in 2021, and Iranian influence efforts primarily use online tools to target U.S. audiences remain easily detectable for now.
Wow.
The ubiquity of the 2016 Russian interference story as stated pretext for building out the censorship machine cannot be overstated. It's analogous to how 9/11 inspired the expansion of the security state. And if you open up one of these documents from the Office of Intelligence and Analysis, it says, Russian malign influence use of permissive social media platforms. We assess that Russian malign influencers probably will increasingly use U.S. social media platforms that offer more permissive operating environments. So they're basically, I completely agree. It's like the way the conservative at the time, it doesn't matter if it's left or right, the machine
That's
was
right.
right at the time. It was right leaning at the time, but they used 9/11 to get
Yeah.
into our bank accounts.
That's right.
Spy on us.
That's right. All kinds of stuff.
While the DHS in its products pans permissive social media for operational advantages to Russians, it also explains that the domestic violent extremist threat requires addressing, quote, information gaps. So whenever they're talking about this, Buck, have you noticed this domestic violent extremist threat? They're talking a lot of times about like parents, PTAs, and I mean, just normal people. Yeah, they had at one point, they had listed school boards. The FBI was looking into the threat of parents going to school boards and speaking up against.
You are kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. They ended up removing it. This was a huge thing. Biden's administration ended up admitting that they had placed them like on this extremist threat list. Yes. And that they were sending FBI agents out to school board meetings, viewing parents as a threat.
Well, like I just told you earlier, how they take kids away, and now they are doing stuff like that in the school system, where parents don't have sort of a say so, and if a parent does speak up, they deem it as a threat to the child on some level. There's some weird stuff going on in this space with kids and parents, and they're trying to, I think, take power away from parents, and the state has much more control over your child. Aren't you scared of that? I'm a parent. I'm an actual parent, and I'm like blown away that we're letting this happen. And then they just admitted it. I didn't know that they admitted that. Right here, people, live, they admitted it.
Yeah. By the way, Tiny Texan tells us that the FBI's products are services.
Thank you. Okay. Wow. I mean, I can't believe more people aren't up in arms around this.
I know, but it's like a total media blackout, you know. And if you're a channel that talks about, and I think every channel should, then it's like, you know,
of course,
the right wing. Oh, the right wing.
Oh my God, I get called that all the time.
Me too.
You know, I'm not right, but I don't care. Like, you know, whatever. I have a lot of friends on every single space because I like that. I like diversity for reals. I like different opinions, all of it. That being said, I constantly get called a right winger.
Me too.
It's so funny. I'm like, actually, you should be more scared of me because I'm not.
That's why they have to call us that, because
that's right.
They are scared of us, because it's like, wait a minute, right. Like, you know, Buck Angel is a trans person, and they don't support this ideology, and
that's right.
And so, but it's easy then to say, well, no, he's just gone right wing.
He's just a turf. He's just lost his mind. Some idiot asked me the other day, oh, so you must be transition. No, they said, oh, hey, Buck, are you detransitioning? And this is kind of a very well-known trans man who was a friend of mine, I thought, and literally said on Twitter, oh, are you detransitioning, Buck? It kind of seems like you're detransitioning, because I talk a lot about detransitioners. And I was like, wow, that's so rude, my friend. That's a gaslighting. And
Yeah.
that's, because they don't like what I'm doing and they try to derail me. But it's just, I really don't know why we're here and why everything has to be so divided and people feel so unable to listen to other people's way of being or thought process.
I think it's part of it's probably by design. They keep us in
Maybe.
this right left
Yeah, that's true.
war,
Yeah.
and then we think about things in those terms instead of about authoritarianism versus individual rights and government control versus individual liberty.
Right.
And if they can play that right left thing, get
Well,
people to fall in line.
Oh no, it's so true. And I think that's why people like me and you who stand up and say things that we need to say is so powerful and why people start to connect to us. We're door openers. We're creating light in a space that I feel is very dark.
Mhm.
And people are scared when they don't see the light. You know that. If you're only seeing darkness, it's scary. And then you kind of maybe just go back down. But when there's a little bit of light and you're like, oh my gosh, other people are seeing, and that's why
It's not
what you
just
do.
me, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It is happening. They just try to block us because they know. But I really do believe that we are making a difference, and people are hearing me and you, and people like us.
Oh, yeah. And I
For
know
sure.
that feeling. I get those messages, I'm sure you do too, where people are like, I thought it was just me noticing these things. I thought something was wrong with me. Like,
Yep.
why am I questioning the left? I've always been on the left. And like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's so many of us have gone through this now. And some
Yeah.
people end up going over and saying, getting fully on the conservative train, and that's
Mhm.
fine.
Mhm.
Others
Mhm.
stay somewhere in this nomad
Mhm.
space, and then
That's right.
we get told that we're right wingers anyway. But
But the thing is that there's more of us. There is. I really believe there's more of us in this middle kind of space. I think more and more people are sort of leaving those sort of fringe, insane spaces because they're insane. Both of them are the same as far as I'm concerned.
yeah,
They're both angry. They're both mean. They're both very rigid in their thought process. There's more, I go on a lot of conservative shows, right? Like I've been on Fox. I've been on TP USA. I've been on, Prager U, all of these sort of more conservative spaces. And I do that because those are the people that actually do hate me and do call me she and I'll always be a woman and all of those things. But I can see the crack I make when I go
yeah.
on there and they're like, okay, well, you know what? I get why she, I still say it. I get why she is doing that. And that's the important part of speaking to the haters and if they give you the opportunity to speak to them, then on some level you can,
Do
they're
it.
willing to have, but the only people, my point was going to be, I guess the only people that let me have that comment are those right. You know that have you ever seen me on CNN or
Yeah,
CSNB?
no way.
Nope. They will never have me on. And that should say everything to you all out there.
Well, you might be trans buck, but you're not politically trans.
I'm not part of it. I don't get to be part of the party. I'm the party pooper.
Whatever that means. Okay, I don't think there's that much more of this one. We're getting to the bottom here. This one again, Twitter Files Part 6 by Matt Taibbi, and this one's all about the FBI's involvement and the other government agencies' involvement with Twitter. So this part here, they're talking about one of the packets or products that the FBI gave, DHS gave, and it was about domestic violent extremist threats that need to be addressed. And that, I think, is all about censorship of ordinary people, anybody who doesn't go along with the narrative. FBI, in one case, sent over so many, quote, possible violative content reports that Twitter personnel congratulated each other in Slack for the, quote, monumental undertaking of reviewing them. Here we go. Here's some conversations in Slack. Anyone need help reviewing the tweets forwarded and FBI report on possible violative content?
Oh my God.
We can help. Thank you all so much for your help. A monumental undertaking. It was so much work. My band finger got so tired.
They think they're heroes.
Yeah. There were multiple points of entry into Twitter for government flagged reports. This letter from Agent Chan to Roth references Teleporter, a platform through which Twitter could receive reports from the FBI. And this is Elvis from the FBI saying, Twitter folks, just got something hot off the presses today. Be on the lookout for a teleporter message from me with 2 documents to download. Oh, they loved this. They
live for it. Totally.
felt so important, I'm sure. Reports also came from different agencies. Here, an employee recommends, quote, bouncing content based on evidence from DHS. State governments also flagged content. Twitter, for instance, received reports via the Partner Support Portal, an outlet created by the Center for Internet Security, a partner organization to the DHS. All caps, why was no action taken? Below, Twitter executives receiving an alert from California officials by way of our Partner Support Portal debate whether to act on a Trump tweet. And there's this long thing we're not going to read out loud, but it's where they're very upset that nothing happened to this tweet of Trump's, which we'll read. California hired a pure Sleepy Joe Democrat firm to count and harvest votes. No way Republicans get a fair shake. Lawyers get started. GOP leader California is in big trouble. Vote Trump and watch the greatest comeback of them all. Also, New York and Illinois, go for it.
Oh, what's wrong with that? I mean, that's just like his opinion about stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything that's a threat to our national security. Do you?
I don't, but this one toes the line much more than the stuff they eventually banned him over, which was his last tweet was, for anyone asking, I won't be at the inauguration.
I mean, come on, people. Everyone knows how he is. That's how he is. Talks. That's how he interacts in the world. He's literally being Trump. So what? Wow.
Here,
Joe. I love that.
Sleepy Joe. Here, a video was reported by the Election Integrity Project, EIP, at Stanford, apparently on the string. Oh, Buck, I don't know if you knew this, but they had reports coming in, not just from all these government agencies, like all the 3-letter agencies, but they had reports. They had set it up so they had partners at like universities who could report stuff. And they also had partners. The DNC was reporting stuff, the ACLU, like different organizations.
I believe the ACLU has gone to shit. Sorry.
Yeah, totally.
No, I don't support them. I hate them. And I do. I think that they have caused a lot of the problems within what's happening.
They had a coup, an internal coup. And Wokies won.
That's right. They won. They ruined the whole agency. What a shame.
Used to be a member myself.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Big supporter.
So this is it says this report from the EIP at Stanford, it says if that is confusing, it's because the CIS is a DHS contractor and describes itself as, quote, partners with the Cyber and Internet Security Agency, CISA, at the DHS.
Oh my
so God. I guess they're like farming out all this data.
That's right.
Farming, like having people comb through tweets and decide what gets banned. It's the FBI is telling Twitter what to ban, but they're also farming out the work of flagging this stuff to other places, to contractors.
Wow.
And there's a whole thing here on how to port misinformation to that organization. The EIP is one of a series of government affiliated think tanks that mass review content. A list that also includes the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensics Research Laboratory and the University of Washington's Center for Informed Policy. The takeaway, what most people think of as the, quote, deep state is really a tangled collaboration of state agencies, private contractors, and sometimes state-funded NGOs. The lines become so blurred as to be meaningless.
Wow. I didn't have enough coffee for that.
Sorry, Buck. We're not even going to get into the next part. We'll save that for later.
I'm going to actually cry. The rest of my day is ruined. That's kidding.
It puts the Elon stuff in interesting context now, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. I don't get really, I'll be honest with you. I don't really voice a lot of my political beliefs because I want to stay on target. And I don't want, if I start putting out too many messages out there, then the most important message, and the reason I sit here, is the children, I should say children. And so, a lot of times I don't necessarily just do the political stuff because of that. And I believe if that will sort, does that make sense? It'll sort of take away from what the most important thing for me to get.
What your
my focus, my purpose right now is to save a lot of kids from being hurt mentally and physically on some level. And it takes a lot for me to say that because this did help me, but I wasn't 10, right? But my point being is this kind of stuff is so important that you expose it. And I appreciate you exposing it. And I appreciate that you see that we are in a really scary space in this country. And if we don't have people like you pointing these kinds out, who's going to do it? Because the media, where we are supposed to respect and we're supposed to get our information from, is not doing their jobs anymore. They're not.
Yeah,
They're all
they're not
one-sided as
covering this.
well. They're not. It's very for real quick, I have issues with self-ID trans. I do, because, and I'll give you this example real quick. The Club Q shooting.
Yeah.
It was horrifying, and the fact that these are happening again in my community is just, it's sick. I can't believe it in 2022 that people are still so crazy about LGBT people. But that being said, the shooter identified as non-binary. You know that, right?
I didn't know that, and it's
Yes.
sad that when you said the shooting, there's so many. I had to think through which one is he talking about.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Club Q shooting, I think it was Florida. I can't remember. I think it was. But anyways, a shooter went in there and killed 5 people, LGBTQ people, and walked away, and then self-identifies as non-binary. Are you hearing anything about it on the news?
No, that's
No?
probably why I don't know a lot about that one.
That's right. That's right. But if that person was a conservative, right-wing, which is what immediately this community did, a right-wing crazy person shot up no. A non-binary person did it. And my community went silent. And then they interviewed them on CNN. And one of the people they interviewed, a trans woman, said, well, he's not non-binary. Look, you can see he looks just like a man. And I was like, bam, busted. That goes against everything you all keep saying. Anyone can identify as non-binary. You shouldn't judge somebody by the way they look. A man with a beard and mustache can identify as a woman and go into a restroom, right? So I just busted them, and they won't have the conversation about it. And I said, this is why we have to have the conversation. When you let somebody self-ID as whatever, a woman, right? And then this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happens. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that this community hides things from the world, and the media is a part of that. The media hides things they don't want us to see, and why it's important that your space and what you're doing is so powerful and so important. And I just tell you from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it so much.
Oh, thank you, Buck. I'm just reading through all the research these journalists did. I was joking, even my friends that do cooking channels. I know one of you's here. You should find a way to make a frittata and talk about the Twitter files.
That's right. That's awesome. Right on.
But I
Brilliant.
think there's something you said that's very important, Buck, about staying focused, is that I don't always immediately have opinions on things that I cover or read. And I think that's good. And I used to, when I was in the social justice cult, because you get all your opinions from the tribe.
That's right.
And you have opinions about people you've never watched, like the people were told not to watch you, but they have an opinion about you.
That's right.
That someone gave them. And I think it's really freeing to just start saying, I don't know what I think about this yet. Or,
oh my gosh, that's the way everyone should be. That's called stepping back for a moment and doing your due diligence. There's a thing called Google. There's a thing called, I mean, my God, I'm 60 years old. I grew up with none of that stuff, right? Like, my God, you have everything at your fingertips. So shame on you. Shame on you for not doing the work and looking into the things that you might have a different opinion about. And, so I get, people are just so fast to jump on, right? Jump on a side or jump on a way of thinking. And I think people are rewarded for it.
Like, what does my side think about the Twitter files? It doesn't matter. This isn't even about right and left.
It's not.
So
It's not. It's about our democracy, and it's really about freedom, and it's about freedom of speech. And that's why I say things that could get people cringed out or get people, because I believe I'm going to say it, because I can. I live in a country and pay my taxes, and I'm here, and I'm a person who's allowed to say the things that might upset you. Since when did we become this place where you can't say that to me? You're going to make me cry. Like, what? Dude, dude, go take another testosterone shot or something, because something's wrong. And you're crying because you don't like what I just said.
Right. I'm going to switch gears here because I know you have to go and I have to go soon.
Yeah.
we read through all this stuff that, like you said, you need more coffee. It can be very overwhelming to be like, wait a minute, the government's involved in what I get to tweet. But so let's talk about Christmas. What are you excited about coming up? And what's giving you joy lately? We'll end on that.
Thank you. Well, first off, I have an amazing life, even though I seem all aggro. I'm not.
You don't. You seem very full of light, actually.
Thank
also.
you. I am. I can't even say that, I can't, as much as all the other insane stuff on the internet, outside of this, when I shut down, I have a beautiful partner and a kid, and we're going on a cruise. We're going on a Mexican Riviera cruise for Christmas. It's kind of cool with my parents.
Navidad.
Yeah, right on. And I just can't tell you that I don't complain about my life in any way, shape, or form. I have a beautiful life. I have everything I've ever wanted and more, which is shocking sometimes. I'm like, how did I end up here? I was like such a mess for most of my life. But so I'm very grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful that I get spaces like yours to give me the opportunity to see new people that don't know who I am, and maybe can enlighten them around stuff. But I have nothing negative to say about my life, except I'm so blessed on many levels.
Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful Christmas cruise.
Yeah, it's going to be hilarious.
One last question. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh gosh, I just saw this one. I think it's out. It's called Violent Night.
You saw Violent Night?
It's now my favorite Christmas movie ever.
I had to go see Avatar 2 as homework for another show, and we were there, and I was asking the ticket, like,
love it.
Give me a ticket of that Avatar crap. What'd you think of Violent Night?
I took my 10-year-old. You're not supposed to, but I'm like, because that's my 10-year-old. So, oh my God, it was the best. It's great. It's brilliant. Just see it.
Okay.
It's funny. Okay. It's dark humor, right? But I love that stuff. So yeah, I think you'll love it. And this is an escape. I love movies. I'm a big movie person. So that's my new favorite Christmas movie. Okay, and that's going to tell you a lot about me, my friend. But you have a beautiful holiday too, my friend, and Christmas and whatever you.
One last time, tell people where they can find you online.
Oh, sure. So I'm Buck Angel on Instagram. I'm Buck Angel on Twitter. I have a YouTube channel called Buck Angel Official. And that's pretty much. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, please do. I'm very accessible, and I love conversation.
I will make sure we link to that below. I'm not sure if I linked to it yet.
No,
but thank you so much, Buck.
Thank you. Have an awesome holiday, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you guys for hanging out. Bye-bye.
Right.